All right, so I do. Should we just make this a glowing testimonial now? That's what I'm wondering.
That's what we should do.
No, I actually do think one thing that would be really interesting to me, because I look at it as client number 2, honestly. Like right when I switched to full time, I started January. You were client number 2 when I went full time.
Your ad worked immediately on me on LinkedIn.
What worked? Like, why?
What was it? So I read your narrative page on your website.
Yep.
And it spoke exactly to the situation that I was in.
Okay.
Which was, I'm in tactical hell. I need to be in hyper growth mode, but I just can't swim above water. And I wasn't building really any sort of digital ad strategy that incorporated narrative. It was completely product driven. We were just living off of product features and trying to advertise them like it was a thing.
Yeah.
And so your page on your website, it just was so relatable. And I had a struggle, and then your story spoke to me, and I reached out over my holiday break.
That's
when
right.
I filled out the form on your site. I was
Yep.
like, I'm coming back, and I'm working with Jay. We met once, and I signed the SOW the same week.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
You signed up, and then it's funny you said narrative, right? Because I actually remember going through it with you, and it's when I just launched that actually, and I came up with the whole new story with the deck and stuff too.
Yes.
And
I've been through every one of your playbooks.
You have been, because
Yes.
I'm going through like a new one now,
Yeah.
right? But it's funny because you said that, which is, when you talk about narrative, you talk to exactly what people don't realize it is, where it's kind of like, it's not like I'm telling you you're doing things wrong or anything. I'm more confirming something you believe, but nobody is said, right?
Yes.
And that's what like a narrative is. It's like you're reading this and you're kind of like, oh, like this is exactly what I've been trying to figure out like the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think of you like a challenger in my life. You're my challenger partner, right?
Challenger.
So you ask the questions that are uncomfortable, that I don't always have the answer to, that I have to go and get, and then we build a story around it, and then we build a strategy, and suddenly the leads come in. But I have no one else that's asking me these questions. Everybody, on a leadership team at a high growth company has opinions about what the message should be, but they're not gonna sit down and write it. And for a marketer who's swamped, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to do everything all the time. I need someone to take me out of the day-to-day and ask me the really hard questions so that I can propel everything from our messaging to our tactics forward. That's what I think of you as.
That's really nice. I didn't even know.
Just the truth. You're my guru. You're my marketing guru. You're my marketing life coach.
So like the one thing that's just really funny too, like when we talk about narrative and why I think it matters so much is like you sell into like hard buyers,
the hardest,
right?
in my opinion, yes.
I will fully agree with
Yeah.
you. I think that is like people underestimate and they talk about all this advice you get, right?
Yeah.
Like on LinkedIn and what you should be doing.
You're marketing to marketers, it's a whole other thing. You're marketing to cybersecurity buyers, they don't want to hear from you.
Yes.
It's an uphill battle every single day
Yep.
to be a marketer at a company that has a skeptical buyer.
And what's even like too, right, when we're like looking at, or like what I've done with everybody is when we go in and we look at it, we do these assessments, and we're like, hey guys, you're generating all these leads, right? These leads, they don't turn to revenue, like, and everybody's viewed leads as like the top of the funnel game for the longest time. Like, oh, you build leads. Well, your buyer, they don't download ebooks anymore anyways. Like,
no.
And if they do, they're gonna give you some fake email. They have ad blockers
100%.
on the whole time.
Yep.
Like, it's not easy. And that's why we're like, when we talk about, and you found like, hey, this narrative thing, this is really interesting. And that's what I talked about. And I said, instead of running ads to ebooks and white papers, like, we have to find this story that connects with our buyers and has to be around a compelling narrative. And
something that connects our greater mission to the product we offer and doesn't overpromise. I don't know, I just think that's a big achievement that we've gotten to together.
That is awesome, actually.
See, I give good quotes.
We're just gonna take that quote, money, that's it. We don't need any more quotes.
No, these are facts. I mean, I just actually went on a walk today with my husband, which I don't do ever in the middle of the day, but I was like, I need to have a moment to myself. And I was telling him why I want him to meet you, because he hears about you all the time, and I call you like my marketing guru. That's like a weird thing to say, but you're my person who's outside of the bubble of the existing team. So you don't have the swirl that we're in. You talk to other clients, you have a diversity of perspective that I can't get internally. And so that's why I really value my relationship with you, because it is a challenger mentality, but it's also just purely, like I said, a diversity of perspective that I don't have every day.
That's interesting. You made me think of an old CMO I used to work for, actually, and she kind of said that too, which is like, I like when you tell me that you're thinking, because I know eventually you're going to have like a really good idea, right? And a lot of you have like almost gotten away from that aspect, right? They're kind of like, oh, we're just going to go kind of do some shit.
Yes.
And like,
yeah, we're going to do what product tells us to do. They're going to say, that's the value. We're going to go advertise the value. You go, how do you connect the dots and make it a greater story and build something that's interesting that people will actually respond to? I've never had people like our digital ads on LinkedIn before working with you. People like our ads.
Yeah, that's
Literally.
Yes. In this space, it's very difficult. But you said, I'm working with somebody else now, and you said something really interesting, right? Like the product marketing or product team, then they create like a messaging doc, and it's kind of like, well, this is what we're using, and then I'm like, well, based on what?
Right.
Like, this isn't even usable in my opinion, and like, that's what a lot of marketing teams are getting stuck, and a lot of, I hate to say this, but marketing always gets blamed for a lot of problems that are not related to actually like the marketing component. A lot of times it is product. Unfortunately, sometimes it is sales. And I think most of the time what people don't want to admit is it's just poor company strategy actually. Like they're like, marketing, why aren't we growing? It's like, well, growth is a company strategy that aligns the product, the message, your channels.
Yes, you've made me think about that differently actually. Like pushing harder on product, and I mean product that's in my universe, right? We have that CTA on the website where you can actually experience part of what SpyCloud does. And even asking to influence that has been a barrier for me for a long time. And you've pushed me to think, no, I should be influencing that. If that's the way that people experience our product, I should be able to have input, because what we do with that has a material impact on our bottom line, and we can tweak it to make it a better experience, and everybody wins. So just pushing a little bit harder on things that are scary or feel outside of my ability to influence, you've helped me see differently.
It's because what I've realized, so for the longest time too, like I was disaligned with the product, right? Like it's crazy to me how many marketing teams can't even give a demo.
I was just on a CMO coffee talk today, and the question was posed, like, are you a hands-on marketing leader? And their definition of hands-on was, how often do you use the product? And I was thinking, I have a complicated product. I don't use it all of that much. So it kind of got me thinking, like, am I out of touch? Because I don't use it that much.
I don't think it's you're out of touch, actually. I think a lot of times in smaller SaaS companies, the CEO gets a lot of their advice actually from like the board and PE firms and executives, and they're literally looking at it from the old, I don't want to say old school lens, but it is old school lens, which is, well, you have product market fit now, right? So you don't need to worry about like the product. You just turn on the marketing and sales thing now, and they're gonna go get business instead of like what we're looking at through the lens of now is, well, your product can be a source of growth. How can your product actually fit in the channels so that you can get people to experience the value of your product without connecting with sales, which is usually what you have to do, or the narrative now. Like I have another customer, smaller, like, we're building their product roadmap over the next 12 months to fully support the narrative vision that they have. And nobody's thinking like that as much anymore, where it's like, here's our product, okay, go market it. And it's like,
there's a feedback loop.
Or this product's shit. Nobody wants like what this is right now. Like, I can't sell it like this. Or a company doesn't want to admit that a free trial is the better option than a high ACV get a demo. And that's where I just brought that up, because like what we're doing is like, at first, like the first year, we actually got away from your little tool, and then we got back to it, which is like, wow, you get to experience the value of it. If we're really going to use this, we have to do it right.
Yes, if we're intentional about it and can improve the experience. Like you can't let your free trial or your CTA on your website languish for a long time, because people are moving way past you, and then you look back and go, well, this is why we've had a massive dip in the number of people taking us up on this offer. It hasn't advanced. So I mean, it's interesting. Even to think about like the way the product looks being influenced by marketing, that's a new motion for us. The further the brand changes and the product doesn't keep up, you just have more of a disconnect in the market, and that's up to a marketing leader to help solve.
It's almost, like marketing truly has become in charge of growth, actually, like more than people realize, but then it has to do it in a silo still. And then it's over-aligned to sales, and it's saying, well, go create demand for sales, so that sales, I guess, has stuff to do, which isn't our job. I think our job is really to create demand for the product, which is why you actually, well, two things. One is I think marketing needs to get back to aligning to their product. But you said one other thing, which is there's not a lot of people that can like bring vision together across all of this, which I had a realization. I made predictions for this year, and actually one of my predictions was everybody's over specialized now, and I think that's actually now a negative, which is the future CMOs are going to be what I call deep generalists. They're going to understand product and messaging and channels and how to bring that all together, because that actually is the missing piece. Like, I see too many marketing teams that get together, and then you have like everybody wants to like collaborate and be like, I have events, and then well, I'm digital, and then like you feel like you're kind of building alignment, but nobody is there to bring it all together and say this is how all this stuff works together.
100%. That's actually, okay, not to like humble brag, but that's actually what I think is my greatest strength as a marketing leader, is that I have done everything.
Yep.
I've done at least a little bit of everything, so I have an opinion about a lot of things, but I can also step in and see where the gaps are and help try to fill them, especially on a small team that's constantly growing and evolving at a fast-moving company. I agree with you. I think when you get marketing leaders who are only brand focused, it's really hard for them to lean into the sales alignment. And if you get somebody who's really product marketing focused, it's harder for them to lean into the demand gen side. It's just a nice thing, I think, to have come up and been able to touch everything in a way that, I don't know, it's really paid off for me. I think the deep generalist comment is totally on point.
That's
for myself anyway.
I think
I agree.
There's two CMOs I find that are great, and I'm just going to be honest, which is they're really good at the internal politics, and that's why, and that's not me, right? So I'm just really good at like, and this is like even a realization I had, and it's not meant to be like a negative, which is like, even someone that calls themselves a specialist, like in paid or like in products, I'm like, I can still usually like still be better than that person. I'm like, that's the power. Like you get really deep in some of this, where it's like a game changer as a marketing strategy or go-to-market strategy. There isn't, maybe there should almost be like a strategy function that exists within a company to be like, I'm going to piece all of these, what we call them now, sources of growth, your category, your message, your acquisition, and your product. You have to figure out all four of those work together, because it is all in silos. And people don't think it is, but it really is. You build the product, and to your point, marketing has to claw at any product change. And it's the most ridiculous thing in the world, I've realized, which is like, you want us to go to market, yet I can't influence how the product, and then you're going to let one guerrilla customer influence the product, and then we're going to screw over our entire go-to-market roadmap.
Yes, we're working with small sample sizes here. That's the truth. No, but you said something that made me think of another reason why I like working with you so much, is I think it's really hard to find.
This is not paid, by the way.
This is fully voluntary.
Well, drinks after this, but.
No, but really, one of the reasons that I've really enjoyed working with you is because I don't think I could hire you. Like, your brain power to me is something that I rent on a monthly basis for a certain number of hours. Although the hours seem to be all hours of the day because we communicate all the time.
They are.
But I think I'm renting space in your brain because I don't think I could hire somebody with your experience that would want to do this full time, first of all. But I like that you work with a lot of clients because you can bring all those learnings to me. So that's incredibly valuable.
You said something that's somewhat, I don't want to say, the learnings are good, but where I think a lot of agencies go wrong, and I see agencies talk about this right now, they're like, oh, we have 80 customers, and then we take those learnings, right? But what they're really doing is they're saying, they're bringing you more tactics, right? Oh, we found this tactic here. Well, and to me, it's still, they're just throwing shit against the wall. They're like, we're going to go do this tactic. Where we're really thinking about it from the go-to-market lens, right? And that's what we're piecing together. When we're talking about learnings, like, we're talking more strategic stuff, which is like, hey, how can these sources align? Like, how can we use the channels, and how does that work with products, and how can we fuel those learnings to work with you? And like, where I'm thinking of is, it's still unique to you. And that's the big miss where, so here's the big difference that most people haven't realized. Most everything can be copied that you're doing. Your products now is not an advantage anymore. Even your message, all that. So my biggest realization when I talk about learnings is, your goal is to figure out those 4 buckets that I said.
Because no one can replicate all 4 of them.
Yes, working together and how they align. Like
100%.
It's no longer about aligning to the funnel, it's about aligning to these different sources of growth. And the more alignment you can get and understand how they work together, that's why your huge advantage might be figuring out how your product works within a specific channel with a specific message that cannot be replicated because no one's going to piece that together. It's almost like plain battleship hitting, and then instead of what most people do is they would go try to find another ship. It's like, nah, we're going to keep hitting that same spot over and over and over and going deeper than anybody else.
Yes, my crude way of putting it is we beat it to death to get all of the results out of it that we can possibly get. But that's what it is. It's like the constant experimentation and adjustments and tweaking and just turning the levers that I don't get anywhere else.